All right, everybody, welcome on back here this Tuesday, September 15th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here for our afternoon meeting. Let's get a quick sound check, as always, to begin. Make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear, and got this Peloton dropping like an anvil. This thing came out with bad news. Not to say bad news for Peloton. I mean, it is, but it's not like bad as in like they posted anything bad. Apple is coming out with competition for Peloton, which leads obviously to a big drop. So great to see all of us here. Jerry, who cleaned up just before on Peloton, I think more on the way up after it ended up bouncing than anything. But Bonnie, Greg, Leo, Chuck, Debbie, Dale, Tim, Chelsea, great to see you all. Gene, as always. So guys, let's hop into it. We ended up seeing Peloton squeeze up going into this morning, but obviously with the news out, we focused on it more so going into this afternoon. So we ended up seeing it, really just drop as quickly as anything. So, at first I saw Jerry and I think Jose as well ended up picking up some good money on the bounce on the way up, from like 84, 84.50, all the way up towards just about 86, 87. It was excellent. Myself, I'm not really as interested in trading, the more expensive stocks. There's so much to go around to begin with. So, just doing this for about 5.5, 6 years at this point, I'm just naturally more gravitated towards the cheaper stocks. But with news out like this, how could I not? So, with that, I ended up trading small shares. I ended up doing, at first, it was 200 shares. I jumped in, and it was more on the short side, right? So, for as much as this dropped in the bad news that came out, well, ended up squeezing back up pretty damn sharply. So I put two and two together. I thought eventually this would make a round at top and eventually pull back more. I ended up jumping in at first at 86.72. It wasn't right here, right? Yeah, right here. So this is where I can kind of toot my own horn here. I got in 200 shares, a penny below this high here at the time. I thought it was great, dropping down beautifully. I saw Jose jump in, very similar entry inside our trading room. He got out, rightfully so. Ended up squeezing back up before I even had a chance to set anything, which I was pretty lazy to begin. Ended up squeezing right back up. Long story short, thankfully, because I was playing small shares, I was able to minimize the risk, but also look to average up on the trade. I ended up taking two 200 share positions on top, right around 87.22 it was roughly. I mean, obviously, with that said, it dropped off. I covered on this last drop down, but I left a lot of money on the table. I covered at like 85.95 here just to take the money and run. It was a hell of a shake on the way up. I just wanted to get out to take the profits. Woof, this thing just keeps going. So heading into the afternoon, of course, Peloton. I'm going to put this right on the top of our list. And also with that, it's obviously a level 5 stock. Right now, the spread's not terribly big. The order book is somewhat filled in, but for as expensive as it is, it's moving around quite a bit here on the 1-minute chart. So even as it's dropping off, you're looking at 40, 60-cent bars, up and down per minute. Level 5, as we, tend to categorize it. What I'll even do right now, guys, for anyone trading Peloton going into this afternoon, because we ended up doing Traders Talk earlier, I still have this set up this way. Fortunately, here for the afternoon meeting, I can break out a little book map. So that is not Peloton. That is Nikola. There we go, Peloton. So far, going into the afternoon, I would say your major support is roughly off that 84, although 84.50 seems to be pretty strong as of right now. It wouldn't shock me if it breaks down lower to 84 and ultimately bounces. And even from there, you have a 10,000 share order on the bid sitting at 83. So those are the big support levels to watch on this Peloton trade going into the afternoon. Aside from that, I mean, look at the big prints on the tape. Look at the dots here on Bookmap. This 85.25 price seems to be pretty hot, roughly around that area. You ended up seeing a couple of larger transactions. So that could be more of an interim resistance here between where it is right now and the VWAP. But I'm even sitting out on this until 3:15, probably at least 3 o'clock. Just gonna take a breather, to kind of take a step back, take a breather, gather my thoughts, gather my levels, and then from there I'll just adjust accordingly. All right, so along with Peloton, you happen to see on the chart there as well, on the Dow, it's kind of beginning to pull back a bit more here heading into this afternoon, getting a little bit closer and closer to 28,000. It's kind of been dancing around there for a little while. So, we'll take a look at some of the side list stocks heading into the afternoon. We did see, at least from the side list, not Peloton. Peloton's right here. Penn, PENN, breaking all-time highs earlier. I want to just go back to yesterday. We were calling out Penn on the way up to 65. We said, perhaps with a healthy market, it can make a very strong run into the close, breaking all-time highs up to 65. Well, nonetheless, it broke up to 65 yesterday and 70 today. Ended up pushing up nicely. I mean, the markets were pretty flat and shaking around a little bit. I will say, though, guys, just keep in mind, and I should have said this just before as I was referencing the Dow. I brought this up in the chat board earlier inside the trading room. Guys, keep in mind we have the FOMC meeting that ends tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So normally, historically, prior to 2 p.m. tomorrow, it's usually like a slow, stagnant market. Market's pulling back right now. So, you might happen to see a couple of stocks move well, but otherwise, though, it's not to say that we're expecting a lot of market volatility from now until tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Once they decide on policies and rates, obviously with that in mind, we'll tend to see a big jump up and down within the markets. You'll probably see gold take a big move up and down, and we'll kind of just go from there. But keep that in mind. Right now, Penn ended up making a beautiful run higher today, just given its volatility over the last, even month and a half. It's just a very tradable stock. It's pretty expensive, but similar to Peloton, the spreads are somewhat contained, and the order book seems to be fairly liquid. I wouldn't mind jumping back to the end on this, especially if this could begin to break down. Could be a good short with the market. All right, we're going to get to this as we go from top to bottom, but MRNS on the way down right now, really good short opportunity. I wouldn't have expected that as much because it's trading 152.5 plus million shares. So, for the move that we ended up seeing in the after hours yesterday, news came out on this. I forgot what it was. I don't have it on me right now, but, pharma news. We ended up seeing a big pop, ended up kind of fizzling out. Fausto did not put this on the morning watch list. The reason why, my belief, is that, it was just so stagnant. It was going really much of nowhere going into the market open. This is almost like how a buyout looks, normally once you happen to see a company get bought out. You'll tend to see like a really tight range, even tighter than this. But nonetheless, there was no direction on this trade heading into the market open. But we ended up seeing the stock ended up making a really nice push after 9:30. It pulled back shortly after the open, then from there ultimately took off. Give me a quick sec, guys. I'm actually going to dive into Benzinga Pro right now just to get that news for us all here. There we go. Copy and paste. All right. So more or less, what is it? Phase 3 trial for, deficiency disorder. NDA submission is planned for mid-2021. So I guess that's their agenda going forward. But that's the news headline, the news snippet I just posted across the board for all of us joining on social media. Dropped, popped. Most importantly, though, it is shortable. So for as much as this ran up, it's just as good on the way down, right? There was a stock, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, my goodness. Well, there's a few of these of late, and maybe this is the wrong one. I think it is. CORT, C-O-R-T, for as much as this moved up about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, ended up pulling back pretty sharply, and it was a really good short opportunity that day, if you happen to see on the daily chart. I forgot the stock that I was looking to reference there, but nonetheless, MRNS was just one of a few shortable stocks that we ended up see move up pretty nicely today. Another one was ABUS, another one also that we would see on the gainers list. This one kind of fizzled out pretty quickly, but ran up pretty nicely after the open, broke out over 3. From there, moved up towards just about 339, high of the day, and then from that point dropped off. But, if you happen to follow what we teach inside our classes, inside our trading room, obviously we just finished up for all of us here inside the trading room, that is Traders Talk, our weekly workshop. So we didn't have a chance to cover something like this here, but, hey, if you tend to follow what we teach and go over every week, you'll have a pretty good idea as far as when to get in, when to get out, when to ride the stock up, when to ride the stock down. So, ABUS right around 10:15, 10:30, boom, it's like clockwork. We ended up seeing reversal time hit, ended up pulling back pretty sharply, and it was a really good short opportunity with it being listed, easy to borrow. I know one of our students, James, ended up killing it on the way up, on the way down, and then yeah, for right now, I mean, it's just really flat. So this trade, at least for right now, we're going to scratch off the list for the meantime. But yeah, we'll see if there's anything looking just as active. I mean, MRNS, I wouldn't mind jumping back to at the end there. I want to go from top to bottom here, folks. If there's anything else like the oh, and also here we would get to number 6, the IPOB. We'll get to that one in a moment. NVUS to start, ran up after the open or going into the open, popped up, fizzled out, dove off, and that's that. All right, we got a bunch of these IPOB symbols here. You got the warrants. I don't know what this is, but I guess at this stage we'll just jump right to it. If I can find it. Oh, there we go. Number 4 now. Just jumped up on me. IPOB. What the hell is this here? This thing ended up popping up in pre-market from 13 all the way up towards 1650, pulled back. It's a new IPO, so I'm really unfamiliar with the symbol myself. I feel like pretty much all of us are inside this trading room. We didn't really trade this going into this big run up and gap up from here, but obviously new IPO, you know, so it was breaking all-time highs leading into the morning. Well, it died off as soon as the market opened up, right? I mean, kind of pushed up but held off 16, then pulled back, and you'd figure that would be it. But ended up making a second and sudden squeeze from 1550. And then obviously where it is right now, this is where we would want it to be going into the afternoon. So, you know, IPOB, much like Peloton, I would say on this trade more than anything, this has less visibility on the order book. Bigger spread, tinier orders, more spread out. So, you know, I would say Peloton is even more liquid, although that one's a lot more pricey. This IPOB looks pretty good, though, as far as the trend and the activity going into the close. There we go, off 18, 21K print, 10K print. Those all add up. So 18 seems to be a pretty big level here. A pop and drop expected on the first test, but you know, maybe the next break or next test of the level will end up making the big move. All right, OAS oil stock or petroleum stock moved up early, and that's it. OCM, like just very skinny chart, very thin, spotty chart there. Ooh, this JNCE, this, oh, you know what? That's funny. I apologize, folks. So, wondering why I'm laughing. You just, sometimes you just remember some stocks by looking at the daily chart. Remember I was talking about that stock that pumped up, dumped back down. It was shortable. It was JNCE 2 weeks ago. Look at the daily chart. You end up seeing this big red candle. This is exactly what I was trying to reference earlier. This pumped up from 675 all the way to 868, and it made an even bigger dump off. It was an excellent short on the way down. So, you know, very similar. I was talking about MRNS number 2 on the gainers list there. You know, very similar. But yeah, JNCE heading into today, I missed out on this run up, kind of low volume, but steady trend, squeezed up from 9 up towards just about 1150. From there, made like a pop and drop. Still seems to be fairly active. I don't mind putting this on our list. Did well on it 2 weeks ago. So hopefully it treats me just as well here. But yeah, for right now, it seems like it's kind of bottoming out roughly around that 1060-ish, 1070 range, maybe a higher low from here, and then a squeeze back up and over 11, holding over the VWAP, holding over 11. That would be the goal. You know, that would be what you would like, what you would want to see. All right, let's see what else we have here, folks. KOS, familiar name at least. It's really slow. I'll pass. And Pstv, this thing's had a hell of a day today. I mean, it pumped up really early in the pre-market off of good news. I think another pharma stock, you know, good news popped, dumped back down, right? So going into the open, it was already dumping off. It led me to kind of stray away from it. For what it's worth, it ended up making like a little bit of a squeeze after it kind of bottomed out right around 290 to $3. But from there, pulled back down. It's probably going to dump lower heading into the afternoon. All right, INO and Ovio. Look at this squeeze back up. You're up towards 1350. 23,000 share order on the ask at 1350. Smaller order ahead at 1360. Be like a really minor level, but Yeah, this one's been treating us pretty nicely from the end of last week going into this week. Squeezed up nicely today for us. I know Grant was calling this out all throughout the morning inside our trading room. Yeah, looking pretty good here heading into the afternoon for right now. I know. All right, so that just casually leads me really quick to take a bit of a segue right to the other COVID stocks. SRNE is doing nothing. VXRT is doing nothing. All these are kind of moving the same. CODX, nope. APT, nope. All right, so I guess it's I&O only. I'll take it. You always like to just check some of the other stocks that can move in sympathy with a a big percent gainer like that. CKPT. Not doing much right now. All right, let's see. Anything else we have here, folks? TCS Container Store once again, squeaking back up. BIOC, familiar name, off, I guess, a somewhat recent reverse split. Shell on the way back up to 50, maybe. I love the chart. Double top right off the highs. Just the order book. I mean, it's just nothing going on there. There's our ABUS from earlier. Squeezing back up. Perhaps up to 3. I'm going to pass on this, though. So Ruth get called out at the highs earlier. Dived off, though, pretty sharply. All right, guys, if there's anything else that's up, let me know. I got a couple of pings from us here in the chat board. I'll get to you guys just in a moment. Let me hop over to losers list here first. The QRTEA dropped 37+% today. It is kind of squeezing up here. I'm interested in seeing the float on this, if it even lists it here on TradeStation. Oof, floats 379 million. Interesting, because it's only trading 18.5 million shares today. All right. Piques my interest enough. QRTEA, 5-letter symbol. It is shortable, so you could have taken advantage of this opportunity on the way down earlier, but right now it's bottoming out here, trying to squeeze back up. 6, I would assume, to be a big level, and the VWAP is right there too. 17,000 share order on the ask here at 6. All right, Sava, what makes the percent gainers list one day, percent losers the next? This one, I guess, is squeezing up here as well, but for right now, we'll pass. CCL down 9+% still. This thing's been taking a hit today. I saw some financial reports come out on CCL, adjusted, EPS or whatever it may be, not earnings fully, but we ended up seeing a big drop early in pre-market, dove off after the open. So, hey, we talk about the cruise lines as part of the side list stocks that we tend to reference. So CCL is certainly one of them. It is hard to borrow, though. So the other one, NCLH, dropped off pretty nicely with it at the market open. One of the better trades that we had today on the way down. Where CCL is kind of pulling back lower, this NCLH is holding strong. RCL, kind of same thing. I find it interesting that CCL is beginning to break lower here, whereas the others aren't. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put 2 stocks on our list. Well, I guess 3 at this point. CCL, because if you don't have TradeStation, you might be able to get the shares to short it. I'm going to put this stock on our list here, CUK, because if you do have TradeStation and if you can't short CCL, this stock CUK is Carnival as well. It moves with CCL. This stock is shortable. So you could put this on the list too. And then finally, my baby, NCLH. So we'll put those cruise lines on. RCL, you might want to add on as well. That one's a little bit pricey too, but it seems like the cruise lines could be pretty active follow, at least for right now. There's CUK number 20 on the losers list. All right, no real standouts here. Nikola, that's right. I guess I skipped over it. It's hard to borrow now. Can't short it, or at least you have to request shares. It's on the way down to 33. Just a very active stock. I'm going to keep it on our watched list. Doesn't mean that we're going to look to trade it necessarily, but if it ends up making a big move off a big level like 33 here coming up, 72,000 share order on the bid. Also, how about this? I'll kind of do this with you folks here right now, just because I see it. It looks like the opening print was right off that 33 level going into the market open today. I didn't call it out here at the open. I just want to take a quick look. Yeah, well, if you look at that, 9:30 in 1 second, a 398,000 share transaction, market on open print at 33. So no wonder why it's been holding so nicely. 33 is a major level. So pretty good setup. And I will add this right on our list here, the Nikola. If it makes an under and over move from 33 and holds over 33, it could make a pretty nice run into the afternoon higher. All right, Mark says here in the chat board, Josh, no shares of Nikola available from TradeStation. I have attempted 2 times today. No avail. All right, so we got to hope for the bounce there, Mark, at least for us. All right, for anybody else, let's see. What do we have here from Terrence in the chat board earlier? He said, did he talk about Neo? I was out for a little while. No problem. So Neo ended up making a nice pop after the open, right? So it dropped down towards 19, broke under and over, shot up pretty quickly, right? It was very fast actually on the way up towards 1950, broke over and under 20 from there. It flattened out, and then for the afternoon, I mean it is tradable compared to the last like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks or so. It's actually kind of right on par with daily average volume. Trading 96 plus million shares, you figure that's a lot for any stock. Yeah, but Neo trades about 144 million shares on average over the last 50 days. So that's kind of right on par, if not a little light. So for right now, I mean, it's just kind of inching back up a bit there, Terrence. Tradable stock. For right now, I'll just kind of pass. Grant just said in the chat board here, INO just ran to 1370. Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, so INO ended up, making the push going into this meeting. We have it on our list already, but yeah, I mean, it made the pop up towards, I think that's like 1375 and even 1380. Look on the matrix right now, 15,000 share order on the ask at 1380. That's the resistance to watch there for right now. From RJF, welcome back on YouTube, saying EQ turning back around or upward. Yeah, not much going on there, RJ. Popped at the open. Volume just vanquished after like 10:30. Take a look at an EV stock here, SPAQ. Popped at the open. We had called it out. Diving off here. Pretty active, I'd say, though, but can't short it. All right, folks, I think that just about does it. Norman says MRNS could be a good short. Oh, yeah, we would go back to MRNS. That's right. Yeah, this thing's pulling back still. Look at this. Wow, this might be a total dump back down all the way to fill the gap. All right, so you know what? Yeah, good reminder, Norman. We're going to put this back on our list here, MRNS. Still showing lots of life left. And then Penn National Gaming, we were kind of looking at just before, did kind of make a nice bounce. I'll slip this one on pretty much just right at the end here. Just given it was breaking all-time highs today on the way up to 70. Shortable if it ends up dropping on the way back down. All right, folks, I think that just about does it. We got 3 cruise lines alone. We got a big list. So we got 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Actually, not too big. 11 stocks to work with going into this afternoon, folks. So, as I always like to say, or at least as I usually like to say, start and stick with this list. Don't get distracted with something that's not on this list to start, guys, unless from the second I finish this audio broadcast, something ends up making a huge breakout popping off of news. Unless if that happens, I would just say stick to this list, and then around 3:15, maybe even 3:30, we'll look to rescan the market a bit more seriously from that point like we're doing here, and we'll see if there's anything else we can catch going into the end of this Tuesday. All right, guys, for all of us inside the trading room, really quick, because we had finished up our Traders Talk workshop, we're going to have that recording up on your dashboard by this evening. All right, so just stay tuned for that. It'll be up later tonight. just at some point. And for all of us tuning in on social media, just if you guys would like to learn more about what I'm talking about here, our Traders Talk workshop, feel more than free to join us right inside our live trading room. Otherwise, though, feel more than free to like, subscribe, notify yourself right on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/cybertradingu. And for all of us, again, we're going to post the pics, and then shortly from there, I'll take a small break. But then from there, jump right back on the audio, taking us into the close. All right, guys, take care.